Afternoon and welcome to another edition of XFeed. What's up? My name's Schiller. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about customer service. We're going to be talking about mortgage and the fact that now potentially there's a chance that they can look at your crypto holdings to decide if you are qualified. Kind of like the Price is Right show. We're going to get into some other major headlines. We're going to watch some videos from Mr. Bill Noble, the Notorious. We're going to briefly watch the opening from Brian Armstrong regarding their big Coinbase base celebration upgrade conversation. Apparently Gary Vee was there as well. We'll play a quick little clip about him from collectibles. And obviously we've been talking about a lot about RWAs and specifically the collectible side of things. And we're kind of seeing this narrative that's starting to form and the conversations around narratives in general. But I'm keeping on yapping here. So let's get into what we are live over on Abstract if you're wanting to watch on that channel. So customer service, let's talk about it for a second. I want you to raise your hand if you feel that you have been somewhere where the customer service has been lacking. Well, great. All of you put up your hands. Phenomenal. And so like as an example today, I was out at a restaurant and it was, a pretty solid establishment. Like it was always amazing food. And I think that the aspect in terms of like, if we're talking like, getting water and whatnot, super simple. But how many times have you been to places where it's just absolutely outrageous and it feels almost like a coin flip where you say, hey, you know what? I don't want to go out and cook, do the dishes, whatever. I'm going to go out. Obviously, with the way that inflation, everything is usually it's sort of expensive with it. And well, at this restaurant, waiting for the food for quite some time, it's only the really big complaint of that. I overheard a conversation about how there was other people that were working at this establishment that ended up quitting, like on the spot. One person put in a 2 weeks notice, the other person quit on the spot. Now, was that happening exactly today? I don't think so, but they were just in general talking and they gave a reason for the one person that put in like the 2 weeks notice or whatever, saying, I just need to get out of service, all the people, their entitlement, et cetera, et cetera. And so we had a group of some older individuals that came in and they made like an online reservation of sorts. And so the way the restaurant is they have like kind of a front room with like a bar, a couple tables and like a thing right next to the window. And then in the back, it's like a full dining hall. But like, it's like, if you're in the dining hall, it's friggin' loud. Like you have to like very loudly talk and you're kind of squished together with other people in a way. And like, it's kind of not a great vibe. So the point of the story though, is like, we're at the front table over by the window and these people that had the reservation come and sit at the table that's next to us. It's a little bit nicer. It has a, how people are like, oh, you know what, we want a booth. It's basically like a booth, but there's also tables, normal individual chairs on the front of it. And so they sat there for a little bit and then the waitress comes over and then they just start like complaining, say, well, we made like an online reservation. And then they go back and forth and they're explaining like, yeah, I mean, like for here, we don't get to like pick tables per se. You just make the reservation for like whatever, what does it matter? And so these people went on and on and on about how they wanted to like sit into the back area, which I'm like, I'd prefer not to sit in the back area because you can't have a conversation. You can't hear anything. Maybe they want to eavesdrop on other people. And, they're a little bit older, so you think, hey, you know what? Look, it's kind of nice and peaceful up front. And it wasn't like a heavy trafficked area per se, where there was a lot of like distractions, noises, whatever that would be kind of unfortunate in that front spot. I was like, you know what? I'm with that person. I'm friggin' quitting too. So wait and see what happens to the service industry as we're seeing these AI things change up. It's going to be crazy. And man, people just complain about the stupidest stuff ever. But just as of yesterday, bill introduced in Congress in the United States, of course, requiring lenders to consider crypto holdings when applying for a mortgage. So they want the crypto folk in on the housing game, eh? I see, I understand. They come at you eventually. Steve K. Bark, to put into perspective how crazy the Pudgy Penguins profile picture campaign is, when I was leading public relations at Progressive, which I believe from their aptly named commercials that I have seen. I feel like when I see commercials on TV and it's a car, I've never been like, yeah, I want to go buy that car. But I've seen Progressive, not that I'm going with that insurance or anything, but I know the brand. So commercials work subliminally. We had a partnership with another big company. I suggested a profile picture collab. The answer from both social teams was absolutely not. This is 110 profile picture collabs going after the Pudgy Penguins. Again, is engagement down? Are people wanting to attract a different audience? What is the question that we need to pose with these sort of things? And does it go back to the point the other day where I say, you know, people just think crypto's a scam quite blatantly? Is there going to be the stigma around certain individuals that could actually have have a really positive experience doing something along the Web3 realms that are just like, nope, no, thank you. Chimpers, this is a collection of, I actually don't know how many there are. I want to say 1,000, maybe they're 10,000, but of a bunch of different chimps, and they are doing a lot of different things. They've gone after the trading card space, and recently just did this blind box plush keychain. This feels like the national anthem getting played after an Olympic game. I thought they were going to show like what these look like. Apparently not. So we got to scroll down and look at what the shop is for these. So this is $30 a pop if you're interested in buying them. The whole set is already sold out. It's 108 if you want the full set, which includes 4 of them. And why are we highlighting this? Well, one, it's a Web3 brand, and 2, is this a brand that is trying to capture the laboob? Okay, I don't know what the hell they're called, but they're like little monster-looking creatures that people are like putting on purses, and people are having panic attacks on them if they pull like a certain one and they're rare and expensive. Does it feel like they're trying to capture that narrative in their own way? Is this just funny timing that that's super hot? Well, they have these keychains at the same time, and somebody out here buying 10 of them, which... you were spending $1,000 for a couple of plushes. Holy smokes. People in the Web3 space apparently have truckloads of money to burn. Sheesh. But I mean, hell yeah. Maybe these are going to be absolute grails one day, and they seem limited, right? They were already sold out, so that person that bought them for $1,000 seems expensive. Boom, you can flip them. Same thing with the original Vibes TCG, right? Those booster boxes originally were selling for like, I don't know, I think $120, and now I'm pretty sure they go for a little bit more. Maybe, just maybe, the Web3 merchandise game is back. Metaverse Mogul, coming from the Bored Ape Gazette news source, an anonymous crypto whale with millions of dollars worth of Ethereum in their wallet buys an other side chaos deed for nearly $69,000. Oh, suffer and succotash. Sheesh. So, trying to think to some of the earlier days when we used to have big NFT sales, and I think we have to discern certain things. And I realized when I was talking the other day that depending on like who you are, you're either somebody that understands everything that I just said, or are like, what the hell's an ETH? What the hell is a Metaverse Mogul? And why is a chaos other deed worth this much money? And I actually don't know if I can like articulate why it's worth that much money in current stance, because we're waiting to see this open metaverse world where there's potentially an entire new economy digitally that opens up from this, potentially. But we used to say whenever there was big sales of something, not everybody, but used to have the assumption, oh, that's relating to the team, oh, this and that. I don't think that we have that anymore, right? There were certain collections, I think more closely to like when they first minted out, big sales, we had that assumption, but now we're just like, holy crap, there's somebody that like just really believes in the digital asset narrative, period. And you know who doesn't believe? The US government, apparently. What a bunch of lying crocs of sugar. Senator Cynthia Lummis, I'm alarmed by reports that the U.S. has sold off over 80% of its crypto reserves. What? Leaving just 29,000 coins? If true, this is a total strategic blunder and sets the United States back years in the Bitcoin race. And so the post that this is coming from says, new U.S. Marshals reveal the government now only holds 28,988 Bitcoin worth $3.4 billion. Oh, we're behind because we have $3.4 billion. It's funny. Governments, listen, if I had $3.4 billion, I wouldn't say I'm behind on anything. You know what I'm saying? But at one point, apparently, they had 200,000. So when you compare and contrast, all right, listen, you know what? If we're talking about like 10 billion plus versus 3, I'll take 10 billion. Hell yeah. But I also think like this is crazy, right? Because does that mean, okay, well, the U.S. is going on about how it's a national priority to be involved with all this crypto, and if they've sold half of it, does that mean that they're going to now buy more of it? on top of these companies that are trying to buy more of it, that in turn is going to have these bigger entities buy more of it, and what ends up happening. And I think, there was an interesting conversation, and I'm already kind of shooting myself in the foot here because I wanted to clip some stuff from Bill Noble, and I have like his opening stream, but I always watch all of his shows. But he goes on this talk about, well, if Circle raised, whatever the hell amount that it was for what they're doing within just a stable coin, well, Ripple has that, but even more than it. So, I mean, what sort of big massive player tries to come through and buy Ripple? And what does the ripple effect have on that? And there's so much going on. It's crazy. Yo, Soulflake, what's going on? How we doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the kind words. So Coinbase wallet got renamed to Base. So there was all this news, and I felt like it sort of happened all of a sudden that there was this Base Day, and there was an entire conference in California. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't really know much about it. So we're not going to watch all of this because this is like an hour and 40 minutes. But here is Brian Armstrong's opening discussion. And then if you guys are wanting to go check it out more, again, you can just look up at Base to see. But here's Brian Armstrong.
One of the things it traces back to. And so with that, please welcome Brian Armstrong to the stage.
All right. Thanks, Jesse, and it's great to be with you all here today. All right, so I thought for my talk, I would just zoom out for a minute, talk about a little of the history of how did we get here. So Coinbase was founded 13 years ago, and our mission is to increase economic freedom in the world. We think crypto is the most important technology to help go do that. So what does economic freedom mean? Well, it means it's your money. You should be able to do whatever you want with it, just basic property rights. Many people in the world, they don't have this, and it's foundational to all human progress. It means that we should cut out the middlemen that are taking high fees and slowing down every transaction in the economy. It means we want permissionless access for everyone to have fast and cheap and global payments. Anybody who has a smartphone should be able to exist on a level playing field here. And ultimately, crypto is about freedom. It's about individual sovereignty. And if we can create this layer of financial freedom for people all over the world and update the financial system with crypto, it's going to accelerate human progress. Now, we've been at this a long time. Back in 2013, the Coinbase app launched. We've helped millions of people buy crypto and get a little bit of it to enter into this economy. But that's just the first step in our vision. And these types of products, these regulated financial service products or custodial wallets like the Coinbase app, they do have some limitations, right? We have to ask a lot of personal questions and collect information from every customer who wants to onboard. It's very high friction. If we want to launch in a new country, we have to go one country at a time and set up a local entity and get a local license from the regulator. And there's a limitation on certain assets and services we can put into these applications as a regulated financial service business. And so we always thought that, once we had the bridge from fiat to crypto, we needed to make a new kind of app that would actually allow permissionless access.
So just to comment on that, self-custody is the future component, because we've had discussions here quite frequently where we see where there's like a single point of failure or somebody getting hacked. And also we have kind of on the other side of the playing field, people saying, well, if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto, don't hold anything on exchanges. And I feel like we still kind of have somewhat of arguments on both sides and issues with things, and people, he talks about like the heavy friction, and I really believe that there is that. So curious where he goes with all of it.
For everyone all over the world, and really be more of a self-custodial wallet where you control your own funds. So it's not a financial service business, it's just more like a software product that can launch all over the world from day one. And so we started this journey, actually back in 2017, we started to think about self-custodial wallets. And we launched this app called Toshi, named after Satoshi Nakamoto. Many of you probably never saw or heard about this. It was an early experiment where we were trying to work out the bugs on some of this technology. And it evolved over the years. We turned it into something called Coinbase Wallet. But these self-custodial wallets were always a little bit too challenging to use for the average user. You had to install a Chrome extension in your browser if you wanted to use these on the web. There was a 12-word seed phrase you had to write down. If you lost it, you'd lost all your money. That was not very appealing to many people. And you had to go and try to connect your wallet into these different apps with these flows, and every transaction was often took minutes or hours to confirm, tens or 20s of dollars to pay these transaction fees. And so self-custodial was not really ready. The tech wasn't ready yet. So a few years ago, Jesse and I sat down and we started to think about how could we really help push the frontier of this technology to make it usable for 1 billion people? How do we make this kind of like, that Netscape moment that the internet had, or the iPhone moment for mobile? And, Jesse initially came to me, he was so excited about this. He was like, Brian, I want like $1 billion budget and 60 headcount, and I'm gonna go make this happen. And I was like, well, why don't you start with like 2 or 3 people? And, innovation usually happens with small teams, the 2 pizza team. Let's start with that, and we'll see how it goes. And so he got to work. He started iterating on it. Sometimes big companies, they give the bear hug of death to these exciting new little ideas. But new ideas are fragile. They're like a little plant coming out of the ground. You have to create a safe space for them to grow and see what's going to turn into a big oak tree. And so I tried to just shield it. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I just tried to give it space. And Jesse went to work, and he started to work on Base, which became now the most popular layer 2 solution on Ethereum. And it wasn't just us. The rest of the ecosystem was also innovating at this same time, building different pieces of the puzzle. New people were coming on chain, especially in emerging markets, people who had the biggest unmet need. And we started to see this thing blossom over time and really start to grow. And I think we have the nucleus of this new on-chain economy happening today with, I'd say in the low tens of millions of people doing it. We're not at 1 billion yet. We're in the low tens of millions. And we started to actually put a dent in some of these core usability challenges that were blocking this Netscape moment from happening. We needed first like a medium of exchange. Bitcoin is a great store of value, but to have a medium of exchange, we now have trusted stablecoins like USDC from Circle. We fixed that onboarding problem with the 12-word phrase. You can now sign up with just an email address with a smart wallet. Instead of sending to like a long string of random characters, which was always a little scary for people, you can now send to a human readable name with ENS and base names. And I want to give a big shout out to some of the folks who worked on the social graph, the open protocols for that, like Zora Farcaster, and with messaging, the XMTP team is here. We fixed fund on-ramping with Coinbase. We got that going, and of course, Base, helps provide a lot of the fast, cheap transactions all over the world. And so, I think we're finally at this moment as an industry. Really, it took innovation across all these different companies and foundations and groups and individual people.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to also point out. That like he started Coinbase 13 years ago, and so I'm guilty of this as well. But I think when we look at a lot of the teams and people that are doing stuff now, and they're trying to be innovative in a space where a lot of the innovation feels like it's copying somebody else in a way, or it's taking too long, or there's not enough users, there's not enough adoption, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, it took this guy 13 years.
People, we've got these Lego pieces. How can we start to assemble these into that new app that creates the on-chain economy for 1 billion people and actually makes it usable for regular people who don't even know anything about crypto or how it works? I think we're right on the cusp of doing that. And I'm going to invite Jesse back on stage. He's going to show you what this app looks like in a minute. But before we do that, Jesse, why don't you come on stage? All right, we're gonna do a selfie here on stage with all of you. So you're gonna be in the background, and when this app launches later today, we're gonna mint this photo on chain. It's gonna be something you might want to own. I don't know. We can see how it works. Okay, let's do it.
Hey, everybody say based on 3. 1.
Okay, so there's just the opening for that. Again, not wanting to go through all of it because it's like an hour plus. If you guys are wanting to check it out, again, that was live yesterday. If you check out like 5:44 p.m.-ish yesterday, you'll be able to find that over on the Base account if you want to watch all of that. Now, not to jump from one live stream to another, but we're going to do just that. And we're going to play a quick clip here, but this is Bill Noble talking about Ethereum. And to kind of retrace for a second, a lot of the people that came in the 2021 rave, I guess call it rave. Yeah, sure. Their focus was on Ethereum. And honestly, since the market kind of cratered a little bit, Ethereum's been quiet. So here's Bill's take on it.
Be successful. Because undoubtedly, the first thing you're asking yourself is, did I miss it? Is it over? Right? Am I too late?
He's talking about the crypto just market doing well as a whole.
The answer is no. You're never too late. You're never too early. You're right on time. You are right on time in altcoins, especially Ethereum. So let's start with Ethereum. Ethereum is, let's see, at 33.79. That's roughly where Ethereum was before the giant debacle in 2022. So the only
Which I'm pretty sure was the FTX collapse.
thing Ethereum has done in 3 years is unwind all the rampant bearishness from years and years ago, including this year where it went down to 1,400 because there was no use case for ETH. That was until Robinhood got on Arbitrum. That's a layer 2. Until PayPal started using Arbitrum. That's an ETH layer 2. Until every equities mutual fund on the planet is going to be diversifying out of NVIDIA and into Ethereum. Now, why would they?
So there was like some crazy stupid stat that he brought up within the stream, and he might mention it in a second, but I've listened to the full clip. I just wanted to grab that one. We'll keep playing it here for a second. But he said something like Walmart, Target, in like 2+ something other like major macadamia nut type of corporations combined are like not even a sliver of what NVIDIA is at. So his thesis is like NVIDIA's taking over the world for sure, but people that are in that right now, well, I mean, everybody says about diversification, et cetera, et cetera. There's got to be some other catching up to do.
They do that. Simple. NVIDIA is now worth more than Amazon, Costco, and Walmart put together.
I was kind of close. I got the Walmart part.
So yeah, NVIDIA is the future. However, that may be somewhat priced in at the moment. Meanwhile, back at the technology ranch, what's underperformed? Ethereum. It's a network in the minds of stock market people. Oh, this is the fast network. Oh, they make 60% of their money from stable coins. Oh, the crypto ninnies haven't bought this. It's like way below its all-time high, and Bitcoin is like stratospherically higher. Stock market people do this all the time. They sell the outperformers, they take a little profits, and they come underneath and they buy the underperformers.
So again, absolutely love Bill Noble's streams. If you've enjoyed this one at all, Soulflake never too late till it's over. It is not ending anytime soon. True. But if you guys are wanting to check him out, he's on YouTube at Crypto Noble, and then on X, Crypto_Noble, or I think Bill Noble on YouTube as well. He goes live basically every single day, does Patreon, all that kind of stuff. He's more kind of like that, like borderline financial advice type of thing, where we just go over the headlines and whatnot. So would love for you guys, or encourage you that if you enjoy crypto content, I think he's one of the best that does it out there. So talking about underperformers and stuff, just for a little bit of a nostalgia kick as well, the banana token, it's at 3 mil market cap right now, and I don't own any. I'm just simply bringing this up because it's something that for people that are into the NFT space, you can kind of do this compare and contrast thing, right? Because we have Azuki with the anime chain, we have Doodles with the Doodle token, we have Fluffs with the Root token, we have Bored Ape Yacht Club with the Ape token, all these things, right? All of them are connected out there, and like Wilder World has, I think, connection within theirs as well. But the point being is at one point, these things were like astronomically higher, where like Banana was at, I think, like $100 a day. That's not happening by any means, but I feel like we're kind of having like a breath of, oh, okay, we can breathe, maybe feeling confident about certain stuff. Maybe the winds are shifting and the digital economies and whatnot, people are wanting to look for it. Now, Smoot here, who I absolutely love, and we brought up the Labubu thing earlier, which is those like plush toys. So I guess there was some NFT collection over on Base that created like a digital version of them. Now, ignoring the fact there's probably a high chance of like copyright strikes, whatever you want to do about this, there was a decent amount of people that went out and minted these. And I think the overarching feel is, oh my goodness, we missed this other side of things. Maybe we can catch the wave here over on Web3. And I'm curious how many other viral moments or things that people have high in demand throughout 2025 are also going to, in some way or another, make their way over to the blockchain. Google as a search engine feels completely useless now. I agree. And I think the whole AI agent wave will make things shockingly different. Obviously, there's people that are using like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever the hell it is, but we've just gotten started. So when we talk about AI, I feel like I have to like quantify it, qualify it, make it kind of, be perceived in a little bit of a different light. So one of the big overarching things that I've thought about recently is like, man, obviously we don't want like AI driven cars that cause accidents or anything, but we saw the one the other day where it basically like saved a man and his family. And then there's this where the fact that I think just like humans as general, they want information and they're impatient, and if you don't have either, it's cause for concern. So Wayne here says, I hate this world. Headed into work just now and pulled up to the light. It was green, no one moving, and people honking. Rolled the window down and people yelling, hurry up, move your ass, etc. Couldn't see what was going on, so I got out of my truck to see an old lady with a walker, basket trying to balance on it with grocery barely moving. I ran up to her and helped her across the street like a decent human being should. Get her across the street and she's thanking me while crying. I tell her no need to thank me and head back to the truck. 3 cars ahead of me and not a single person thought to help this poor lady cross the road. This younger generation is effed, and I feel so bad for the world. Okay, now, is this younger generation? Is this just anybody in general? Is it people that aren't aware that that's the situation and they just think somebody in front of them is texting? And this is where it's like, okay, this is my new $1 million idea, okay? I don't know who to work with for this, but like if you see it out there, we're suing them. So on the back of a car, right? People have stickers and they're representing their fandom or whatever. What if you could have like a LED light on the back of it where you could like teleprompt and say, hey, there's construction ahead, slow down. And that flashed on your rear view mirror. Or there's a lady crossing the street, please wait. $1 million idea. You'd have information that was given. I mean, the problem with this is people would be like, if somebody passed them, right? And then the other person would pass them and say, hey, you're a dipshit. You're a crappy driver, right? And then they try to like get into a fight with the person behind you. That's the problem with the idea, right? Because you get to that length of things. But I think information, how do you give it when you're driving to the person behind you? You can't. And then we have some complaining over here about like the UFC and people aren't getting into it. And this was an ex-fighter within the UFC saying they're going to talk with like the wrong audience about this. I'm like, man, people are trying to look for fans of whatever specific niches they are in whatever way possible, however they possibly can. And that's something to watch. So we highlighted the base conversation. Uno momento will go. And here is Gary V at it. Just a quick 50-second clip.
When people are listening now, common gen pop, and they're like, you're gonna earn. This is not about buying a photo as an NFT to speculate to sell it later. This is far more what is happening for IRL creators in tip culture than it is the NFT culture. There's clearly a collector's layer. Look, I think collecting is now starting to get close to music, sports, fashion as a pillar of our society. Labubu, cards, Pokemon, all that. But that fact, when you say that, for people that grew up in 21, 22 hysteria and froth, this is not about buying, though I'm sure that will be an option. When you understand the subconscious tip culture that is happening in IRL streaming, and you layer that here, and you understand the frictionless layer that you're creating, the economics are profound. They're profound. When people are listening now.
So there's your profound take of the day to ponder for the rest of your provocative afternoon. How many something? I don't know. I don't know if I have any more words with P, but collecting becoming a pillar of society. What happens when that happens on chain? That is the question. Soulflake, I appreciate the hell out of you coming through. That's awesome that you were the first time checking it out. I feel like sometimes discovery on this stuff is absolutely shot, but love that you were here. Thank you so much for commenting. And anybody else that's here watching live, we are live over on Twitch, YouTube, Abstract, and I said YouTube, Twitch, Abstract. I feel like there's one more. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's just 3 platforms. But we are over across those. Don't forget, if you are watching on YouTube or if you're over on X, we do the RWA Segments podcast. Quick 30-minute podcast with some of the biggest brainiacs within the space, covering a whole bunch of niches that you probably would have never thought about, learned about, whatever. And I'm talking with them and, our knowledge base, we're probably on the same level, so it's not too fancy of conversations. However, next week for Mike Reevy, some of it does get in a little bit of a frisky spot. Soulflake, that would be an interesting idea, like cities having cameras at an intersection, capturing moments and transcribing them real time to the drivers. Yes. Such as accidents, traffic, so it would enable better timing on crosswalks and lights. Well, we do kind of see that on construction sites where you have the solar panels, and then they give like, hey, you're going to have like a 30-minute delay or whatever. But how do we take that and make it even bigger? That is the question. But again, thank you so much for coming on through, as is everybody else that's watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.